What we have here is a YouTuber, PawnySlaystation 1, who actually made quite a few decent videos on the MRA. I don't know if he officially called himself an MRA, but he definitely talks about men's issues. And he's a good example of how a good MRA, which is very, very rare, burns out, because he'll be surrounded with people who are anything but. And I'm going to play you a few of his videos to show you that. Just a moment here. Now, here he is talking to this man, Mr. Deity, and we'll hear what they have to say.
Responding to the disgusting and irresponsible third-hand anonymous rape accusation made by PZ Myers against Michael Shermer. Toward the end of the video, he showed how easy it is to manage your own alcohol intake by saying, no thanks, to an offer for a drink refill. Some took this to mean that rape victims are somehow at fault for their rape, so Mr. Deity made a follow-up video in which he said, quote, "Rape is rape, and a woman is never to blame." I took
Here, just a minute. We'll expand this.
Issue with this, and I made this comment on his video. Now, I realized he probably misspoke and meant, a victim is never to blame for their rape, but I thought he should use more specific language. I got a few replies of people defending him, saying he was only talking about this specific case and calling me clueless. Now fast forward a week, and I see him post a comment on his video. I took a look, and I saw a post very similar to mine, posted by this guy. He says, quote, "I don't agree with you on this once." I assume he means one. "Please rephrase it correctly. As funny as it may seem, and for how rare it actually is, there are men who are raped by women. And if we don't want to have gender issues, we must concede that both genders are equals, both in obligations and rights, and obligations come first."
Okay, so Mr. Nikolai here, he hit the nail on the head. Let's see what Mr. Deity says.
Now Mr. Deity's response. Quote, "Okay, I'm not necessarily doubting you, but I really don't understand how that happens. Are you talking about a man being penetrated from behind? Because for vaginal intercourse to occur, doesn't the man have to perform? I'm not sure I understand how that might happen in a forced situation. I know men who can't perform in the best of circumstances. That's why Viagra and Cialis exist. Can you please clarify this for me? I admit to complete and utter ignorance on this topic." And my response. "So are you saying women can't be raped if they're sexually aroused? Sexual arousal isn't consent, right? It's also not voluntary. Erections aren't voluntary, whether they're from arousal or otherwise. What about statutory rape? What about a woman raping a boy? I cannot believe you are this ignorant." Is Mr. Deity really this ignorant? My statement at the end there isn't meant to be hyperbolic, by the way. I really cannot believe he is this ignorant.
There you go. So now this is Mr. Deity supposed to be someone on his side. And he completely backpedals and gives into a feminist framework. And I know that, or the group I belong to, we had to suffer that a lot too. Now, here's a case where he has to clarify himself to integral math, this man here. Now, I forget the name. I ran into him. I have seen his videos a few years back, but he was going under a different name. I forget it. But I think it originally was integral math. Anyway, this is the second video that he's had to clarify. And his videos are pretty straightforward. So just let's hear a bit.
Hey there, PawnySlaystation. I just watched your video on the failing boys in education, And ordinarily, I would just respond to your video, but due to recent events, it doesn't seem as though that's possible. Without my being vulnerable to the claim, I've strawmanned you, that I'm lying, I'm intellectually dishonest, and all these other things.
I'm just going to make a quick response to this, which is going to make me late for work. Integral Math made another response to me. In the first part of his video, he tells me he can't respond without being accused of straw manning, being intellectually dishonest, etc. Just to be clear, Integral Math, any accusations even remotely like that were due to you completely ignoring my multiple statements clarifying my position that encouragement had nothing to do with the discussion that I was having, which you...
There you go. And so Integral Math has actually made videos in men's, favor. So now he's switching things around and causing havoc because, guys like Integral Math, which is the average guy really, they're not going to go all the way. They're always going to stop at the goalpost and just give up. There is a dishonesty here.
Should feminism be blamed for that feminization of society?
First, sometimes I talk about men's rights issues. This doesn't mean you can argue every point anyone in the MRM has ever made against me as if I've said it. I just wanted to mention this because you've been doing this a lot lately. You've made videos about men's rights too, so does that mean you and I have equal views on everything? The MRM is not some kind of ideology where everyone believes the same core beliefs. It's a group of people who advocate for men's rights. So you're an MRA, even if you don't, call yourself one. If I choose or not choose to call myself one, it has no bearing on what I do or don't believe. Anyway, I don't think that boys' physical safety is dismissed in society.
Okay. I'll include this one in the description box because it's worth watching. To me, it's one of his best videos, even though PawnySlaystation here, even though he saw it as kind of superfluous, like I had to do it again, to me, his responses are very good. And it's worth hearing them again. But it also shows you how people who are supposed to be on your side end up not being on your side. An honest man, a man who has integrity, which is I feel this PawnySlaystation does. What they are is like like a candle floating on the ocean at night. They're that one little star out in all that darkness. And you will notice that, these are 7 years old. If you look at his content, I think the latest video is already 5 years old, maybe even older. He just gave up. And why did he give up? Now, I don't want to speak for him, but my suspicion is that he just turned around and said, this is a waste of my time because people that are supposed to be in my corner are actually against me. And the reason I bring it up as well is because one of the heart and mind of the Pro Male Collective has finally had enough and gave up because it was eating his life away, analyzing male slavery. Not everyone knows who he is, but the point is once he left, the Pro Male Collective is dead because without his discipline and integrity and brain power, it just couldn't last. To me, the Pro Male Collective is dead without him because there's no one to replace him. And this is the same thing, like this PawnySlaystation. I would have loved to have him still going around and talking to him and maybe even got him to join. But good men suffer from burnout because they constantly have to deal with dishonest backstabbers. Now, here's another thing that we've had similar experience, this PawnySlaystation here, is that he's had to deal with people like this who are fence sitters, which are actually enablers of the whole thing.
So they are better appointments if what you want to do ultimately is to heal the rift. And let me say, looking at this from outside, this is a rift that...
Okay, I won't put you through that. I'll put this in the description box. If you want to hear him blather on, you can. I just wanted to show you Pony's response to this.
In other words, there's a big rift, and we shouldn't champion or appoint anyone on either side of it. We should only appoint fence sitters. I wonder, Mr. Noel Plum, should we also not appoint people who speak out against theism? What about if they've spoken out against racism? There's people on both sides of that debate. This is a fallacy I really wouldn't expect from Noel Plum. There aren't always two sides to every issue, and we don't always have to try to appease everyone. I do not agree with your statement that many significant figures in the skeptic/atheist community are on both sides. The only two people I ever respected who have come out in full support of Atheism Plus and Free Thought blogs is Christina Rad and Matt Dillahunty. That's two people that I can think of. It's a very unpopular movement within the community. Have you been paying attention? The vast majority of the people I consider, quote, significant personalities in the so-called community are very firmly on the outside. I don't think this rift needs to be healed. This group has just become another irrational group that should be opposed at every opportunity, just like theism in this community. Why do we need to be any more accommodating to this group? Why do we need to placate a group of people that so many of us strongly disagree with? Well, the answer is we don't, and I don't see any rational arguments that I accept in your video. I disagree that the so-called rift needs to be healed. I disagree that we need to tiptoe around Atheism Plus and Free Thought blogs or compromise with them. I disagree that there are two sides to this argument. I disagree. The community has been placating these feminists for years, specifically the feminists on Free Thought blogs. And all it has done is increase the feminist anger and level of perceived injustice. We've given miles and they've taken light years. Consider how much effort that has gone into creating equality at conferences. Consider that many conferences now are strongly encouraged to have 50% or more of the speakers be female. Consider that the population of these events has lately become primarily female or almost equal across the board between men and women. Now consider that polls show that men in the UK, the US, and everywhere else tend to make up the majority of the so-called atheist population. Women are more likely to be religious than men. This means most atheists are men. So, why do we think that 50% male and female population at conferences and in speaking positions is equality? These are the types of things we've been doing as a community, and it has bred a new breed of feminists. Now they're attacking people's reputations and livelihoods. What if we all decided that you were right? What if we denied positions of authority to those who spoke out against what they consider to be irrational, damaging, and hateful behavior? Would people be less willing to speak out for fear of damaging their career or personal reputation?
There you go. I'll put this one in the description box, like I said, because he's coming up against this Noel Plum guy, who's a fence sitter. And they're not fence sitters when it comes to other groups, of course, like he says, racism. But feminism speaks for women. And so this is why it's allowed. A fence sitter is an enabler. There really isn't a fence to sit on. You either believe in it or you don't. It's either a good thing or it's bad. So when these guys want to fence sit, it's good to them. Let these women come in. Atheism Plus is what he's all about. And these women, it's made it not about atheism, but about feminism with atheism on the side. And they infiltrated and destroyed that group. and men had to worry about their livelihoods, as he said. And of course, it's all allowed. I mean, it became a farce. And so this is another thing that PawnySlaystation had to put up with. And he's not the only one. Anyone who actually struggles for some kind of sexual fairness, between the genders, for boys and men, they're going to be surrounded by a bunch of backstabbers, because most men, that includes like no plumbing there, right there, they will sacrifice, they pander to the opposite sex at other men's expense as well as their own. And that's what they're going to do. And so my guess, is that PawnySlaystation had his fill of this. And he said, that's enough of this. I'm not doing this anymore. And he probably found something better to do with his time. Fighting injustice is one of the best things you can do, but you can't fight it alone. So he got up and left. And that's what happened at the Pro Male Collective with analyzing male slavery. He had his fill. And I don't blame any man finally hang up his spurs if he realizes all it is draining his vital energy. It's not just work. It's your sanity at stake. And I'm hoping maybe PawnySlaystation will see this. I doubt he will, but if you are out there, Mr. Slaystation, you've done some good work. Oh yeah, one last thing before I go. If he was still around, I'd hope he wouldn't make a video like this. For Rebecca Watson is hilarious. At the time, 7 years ago, that's what the time I started going on and watching these videos and get on YouTube, period. And I used to root for videos like this because they'd say, yeah, look how silly they are. Of course, now we know those are useless videos because, 7 years later, nothing's changed. Saying that the feminists are stupid doesn't work. It hasn't changed any minds. It doesn't slow them down at all. So I'm hoping, and I suspect he would, if he was still going with this channel of his, he would make videos like this. These other ones are much better. Anyway, I'm sorry that good men like this guy finally just, they get tired of the backstabbing and, the turncoats. He just gets tired of it. So goodbye, everyone.